Hello, guys. Hello, people, everyone. Welcome. So, this is our series of podcasts that we are doing with our university partners. Today, we have with us Mr. Sebastian. He is the CEO of Data Science Tech Institute, DSTI School of Engineering, as we call it. It's a very popular data and cybersecurity specialized school that is located in France. There are two campuses, one in Sofia Antipolis and one in Paris. So today we'll have some questions that are frequently asked by students directly to us, the counselors. So it would be better if they hear the answers from yourself, right? So we'll start. To start with, give a brief introduction about DSTI. How did you start? Why was it started as an institute? What was the mission? What are the purpose? If you could.
Sure. So, just a few words of context. And I'm a data engineer. Even if we were not called like this when I was myself educated, but that's the way I was educated. I had a data engineering career for quite a few years internationally. During this time, I ended up doing a lot of internal technical training from my colleagues, and I appreciated it quite a lot. I've always been interested in education throughout my life, and particularly scientific technical education. When I decided to go back to France and start my doctoral studies, so I was part of what's now called the Université Côte d'Azur in Nice, Sofia Antipolis. It used to be called University Nice, Sofia Antipolis in the south. So I got a job there eventually as a lecturer. I tried to start something that looks like DSTI now in this university. On the sideline, I had also an IT company, again, quite specialist in data engineering, enterprise systems, CRMs, etc. This was in 2012, roughly. By that time, the need on the job market for data specialists started to clearly appear. On my business activities, we were already struggling to hire such people. The fundamentals, skills were there, like either in computer engineering or in applied mathematics, because particularly in Nice, there's a remarkable applied mathematics department, which is really highly internationally ranked. So the fundamentals were there, but the join together was not. And this will be, I think, a question for later, but it was too slow, too long, too complicated to make it happen in a French public university. So I had the opportunity to meet the person who's now also the co-founder and my president, who's a lot of experience being a top executive of the French defense industry. So we created the school together privately, but with still a lot of academics coming from the French public education and research system. The purpose of the school is in a way similar to your autonomous institutions are here, like IITs, for example. We are specialists, which is why we're not called a university. We only do data science, AI, data engineering, data analytics, cybersecurity. That we don't do humanities or business studies, etc. And we do it with strong footing in science, because AI is mathematics first and foremost. And for this, we have all the great faculty that we have coming from. France is very renowned for its skills in mathematics, obviously. And we mix this with highly skilled professionals who practice on a day-to-day basis the job, particularly in data engineering, but in all IT classes. So for example, when you have a cloud computing class at DSTI, your professor is someone who does this as a day-to-day job professionally. So that was the endeavor to be as close as possible to the market, to the job market. Obviously, we cannot cater and understand the whole global world market, but in technology, usually it's quite globalized anyway. Mathematics are mathematics everywhere in the world, so that's fine as well. The school has always been international. From the very beginning, when we started, we prepared the project in 2014, we launched in 2015, so we're coming to the 10 years of DSTI. We've always had about 60-70% international students. One of the prime, most of the time actually, the prime population, the number one population is India, and has always been from the beginning. Today we are the size of a small but global institution with 350-400 students per year, and growing. I mean, soon we'll reach 500, 600, per year. We've produced thousands of graduates. They are very easily found on LinkedIn. They've got, good careers and good jobs. And we have on average 30, 40 nationalities per cohort. Everything is in English. It's a great environment as well of learning not only applied maths and computer engineering, but also global culture and exchange. It's possibly one of my proudest achievements to have also this mix of culture at the school. Yeah.
This is a follow-up question. I mean, you explained why it is not called a university, but a school that's specialized in offering data-related programs. And now I think you are also recently added cybersecurity as one of the...
Which, was the normal thing to do. Just a few words on cyber before I take the rest. Cybersecurity is everywhere, probably even more so than artificial intelligence in the day-to-day media. You hear every day, something related with security breaches, data leaks, etc. The need for the job is infinite and exponential. It is only normal that when such an institution as ours, when you deal with information systems, and AI and information systems, that you consider the notion of securing them. And due to also, I would say, the background of the founder and the executive team at DSTI. I'm an IT guy, but I've worked essentially in mission-critical environments, telecom, banking, finance. Our president used to be the senior executive VP of Thales Group, the very large defense French European company. So we are sensitive to this, and it's just normal to have this other speciality along with the data ones. Now, with respect to the name university, I need to give also some background on the French system. We have a very peculiar organization of higher education in France. In most countries, you talk about maybe either universities when you talk about higher education, and you may have some specialist institutions like the Indians IIT, etc. In France, we have a dual system with, on one hand, structures called universities, and these are exclusively reserved to the public sector by law. Okay? So when an institution is called a university, it has to be a public, multidiscipline educational system, which of course includes research as well. Then you have schools like us, which can be private or public. Schools were created in the 17th century, essentially onwards, systematically to respond to the need of something new on the job market, because at that time, this was before the French Revolution, the universities were essentially governed by the Vatican, by the Catholic Church. And as such, they were doing classics, medical studies, law, and anything new, technology, like hardcore science, business, education further on, they always had a resistance. And of course they do it now, but the purpose, the statutory purpose of a French university is to produce researchers. That's their statutory purpose. They have, of course, now, and I've been a lecturer, they do have, of course, engineering schools, in them, and business schools, but their statutory mission is to produce research and researchers. And as such, after the French Revolution, Napoleon started to create these schools for mining, engineering, for military engineering, for civil engineering, and then they all appeared one after the other for electrical engineering, for telecoms, etc. So we are basically one of them. We are a school which is in response to a job market, which is AI, cybersecurity. It's very traditional to do this in France. Some of these schools, the private ones, were even created by companies or by chambers of commerce. All the French business schools initially have been created by chambers of commerce. It is a strange system, I understand, for more regular system, but there is, it just takes a little while maybe for people who want to understand. Go on the Wikipedia page of higher education in France, and it's actually very well detailed, and it's an interesting history as well. So we are a higher education institution regulated by the ministry, just the same. We just have this specific purpose, and this is also the statutory reason why we're not called a university.
Perfect. Okay, I have one more doubt. Why are all your programs have the word applied in front of them? I mean, what is the difference between a regular, let's say, MSc data science and an applied MSc in data science?
Well, it is actually our trademark, even. It's a trademark name, but more profoundly, I am French and British educated. So I have a British MSc, for example. We wanted to make sure that in the name of the programs, the fact that we combine science, theoretical knowledge, with hands-on practical know-how was displayed. Very often, when you do an MSc, let me talk about the countries I know the most, in Britain and in the US and in France, it will be essentially theoretical. You will end the MSc by writing an MSc memoir thesis, which will also be fairly theoretical. I mean, I was speaking with one of my colleagues recently who did later in his life an MSc in cybersecurity, and he was telling me, in a British university, and he was telling me that he was writing the typical 30,000 words, MSc thesis on pen testing, and I was like, well, pen testing is not something you write about; it's something you do, like you learn and you perform, and then you write a report about it, but first you do it. And we wanted to reflect this. That, it's an MSc, so it's a higher level of education, but you have also applied knowledge, which is also why we made it our trademark.
So, if I understand correctly, the program is designed for the students to be market ready. When they graduate, they are ready to work on a real-time project.
One of the distinctive points is, from the beginning, we've integrated courses which prepare to external professional certifications, which to me have more market value than a memoir which no one will ever read and will end up dusty on the shelf, well, on the digital shelf now of the university. I'd rather my students to be externally qualified, because that's also something important. It shows that we are confident in what we teach, to subject also our students to external examinations by the editor of the solution or whatever. And it gives them also a highly valuable supplements on top of our degree, a proof that they are operational as well.
Okay, you said you have a very, you said you're proud that you have a very multicultural institute where you get students from across the world. You said around 30 to 40 countries are represented in the student body.
Per cohorts, but we have 2 cohorts per year in master's level in autumn and in spring. From the beginning of DSTI, at the latest count I looked at, we had received over 110 nationalities. It's really quite literally from everywhere in the world. Even if there are, big representation. India is a big representation. Some English countries from Africa, like Nigeria, for example, are also highly represented. But we do literally get people from everywhere in the world. And that creates also an experience which is rather unique, because we have a very strong team of direction of studies in a British style, which individually follows up the study progression of our students. They are also, the team at DSTI is also multicultural and multinationalities. I'm here in India because we have an Indian colleague as our marketing director. We have someone from New Zealand. We have people. I've got a Scottish accent. We have my wife also who works there, direction of studies, who's Scottish. We have people from different countries of Europe. So it is globally a multicultural aspect. And as I said, this is what I love. It's something that I discovered when I studied in Edinburgh University. It was highly multicultural, and it's something that I definitely wanted to reproduce. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, now when it comes to campus, DST has 2 campuses in France, one in Paris and one in Sophia Antipolis.
Yes.
Right now, what is the difference between the Paris campus and the Sophia campus, and what are the advantages of each campus?
The differences are nothing to do with academia. It's all about lifestyle. Although a lot of institutions are multi-campuses, we are multi-campus with a very strong particularity. There is no distinct lives and distinct faculty and distinct, student bodies, yes, physically, but across the 2 campuses, because we started from the very beginning in what is now called hybrid or blended studies. The professors are on one side or another. The campuses are connected. We have really advanced teleconferencing technologies, both on the audio video side, but also on the screen share. Like you can literally, we can ask a student sitting in the south of France in Sofia to go on the digital blackboard physically, even if the teacher is in Paris, and work, together in real time. So we're permanently connected, which means that students who are on campus, regardless of where they are, and the ones who are live online are systematically all together. So the choice is about lifestyle. Paris is a real city campus. When we say that we are in Paris, we are truly in Paris. We are in the Latin Quarter, the historical study quarter in the 5th district of Paris, under the Pantheon, etc. So it is highly central. It's busy. You benefit of the Paris life. There is also, of course, the cost. There's nothing to hide. The cost of living in Paris, which is to be factored in, and all the advantages of being in the capital city. If you like busy, fast, loads of culture opportunities going out, Paris is probably the right choice. If you like a more chilled, and the Sophia Antipolis Techno Center is the largest one in Europe. You're talking about, I know for India it's very small numbers, but it's a technology park of 40,000 jobs, all in advanced engineering and research, public, private, a lot of higher education, a lot of research centers. We are the heart of the education and research center in Sophia Antipolis. It's in a beautiful pine forest, so it's slightly off the coast. It's a completely different vibe. You're like in clean air, quiet, very good for sports activities, close to the seaside, the French Riviera, Nice, Cannes, Monaco, etc. It's a completely different vibe. It's a bit cheaper to live as well as Paris. And we keep saying to students, because of course when you're from abroad, the natural movement is to go to the capital city of a country you don't necessarily know. You don't have to. If city life is not for you, it doesn't matter where you study, because DSTI is one anyway. You're not going to get better education or better teachers. In fact, we make the most of it. The south area, Nice, Sophia Antipolis, is famous for its skills in applied maths and theoretical, computer science. In Paris, we have many professors who come from the professional side, IT, and of course some academics. So this organization also allows us to pick the most of the two locations, and everyone has the same benefits, academically speaking.
So you mentioned that the Sofia campus is in the midst of a lot of engineering companies where students get to have that opportunity to network with professionals. And one more benefit or familiarity for the Indian students would be the climate. I think Sofia would be a bit more...
You're not going to get as hot as Chennai today, but the climate is something to take into consideration. Winters will be colder on average than in India, okay? But you're talking about worst case scenario is going to be for a few days, a couple of weeks during the heart of the winters, where you could have the temperature falling to 6-7 degrees, but that doesn't last long. There are many days that, just to annoy our Parisian colleagues, we having lunch outside, in the sun in the winter, and send them pictures, because if it's sunny, it's nice. Summers are fairly hot, it goes to 28, 30, 32, etc. Yes, it's definitely something also to take into consideration lifestyle-wise. Paris is colder. The winters in Paris, I've heard that for Indian students sometimes are, can be difficult to live, to survive. So again, as there is no academic difference, and it is a little bit cheaper to live in the south, then you can take your job, your internship, your job, because France is a highly centralized country, economically speaking. There's much more in Paris, fine. But studying, there is also another point in Sophia Antipolis. In fact, most companies will operate in English. In Paris, like any capital city, you go and work in Tokyo, eventually you're going to have to learn Japanese. You go and work in Germany, you're going to have eventually to learn German. It's the same in France, You can work in English. There are many companies operating in English, but a bit of social French. And when you take on more responsibilities, you would have to make some efforts. In Sofia, you have many companies which have an exclusive in English operating policy. That is also a possible advantage.
Right. Now, let's talk about the application process for students. There are two tracks for all the programs. There is a traditional 2-year track, and then there is a fast track, I would call it, which is 15 months program, right? Which one should a student choose? I mean, based on their profile, which one would be better?
Oh, it's very simple, and we are clarifying the fast track right now. The fast track is basically an executive program, which is in process of very distinct clarification. So an executive program is made for people who are usually 30 plus, who have 4, 5, 6 years of professional experience, who've already got usually a master's degree or an equivalence, by experience. It's not for fresh undergrads, basically. I must also say that in Europe, bachelors are 3 years, and particularly so now, since the European Union has harmonized, this principle all across. It's called the Bologna process. So bachelors are 3 years, unlike you guys. We used to have bachelors in 4 years in France. We used to have bachelors in 4 years in Scotland as well, not in England. But now it's all 3 years. So as a consequence, our masters are 2 years. Okay, so that's the standard process. So a fresh bachelor graduate in India would go for, not just with us, traditionally a 2 years MSc, in standard full-time mode with then internship opportunities. Another precision, in France, it is deeply ingrained to have mandatory internships by the end of your studies. So typically the master's 1 year internship is optional. We even advise to work on external certifications. The year 2 internship is absolutely mandatory in order to graduate. Why? Because unlike in English-speaking countries, in France, in Latin-speaking countries, companies do not have what you guys call graduate programs. We do, but in a different way. Our graduate programs are basically made of internships, which are essentially a pre-contract. Most companies would then offer final employment after an internship. It's just the way companies are organized, in Latin Europe. So don't look for graduate programs. They don't exist. We go for internship, and that's why on the educational side, institutions make them mandatory in order to graduate.
The internship is mandatory for a student to graduate, which makes it easier for them to find a full-time job, maybe in the same company, right? If they perform.
I would say the proposal rate, because not all students accept. We are educating in fields where there's more needs than available trained people. So the graduates, as of today, still have the luxury of choosing. Yeah. But the proposal rates of permanent employment at the end of an internship is around 80%. Then students decide, do they take it or do they not?
Perfect. So we have discussed about the job opportunities and internship opportunities. Regarding the faculty, right? What is the usual student to faculty ratio, and who are these people? I mean, when you talk about faculty, are they proper professors, or they are full-time professors, or they just come give lecture and then go and work in a company? How does it?
So I'm going to try and take standard international metrics here. In academia, usually you distinguish between junior lecturer, senior lecturer, full professors, and then you have the professionals. Okay. If we look at the academic criteria in France, in the fields of our programs, I am quite certain that we probably have the highest ratio of full professors with respect to the level of qualification of our faculty. These people come from French, European, and also some US, very often public universities and research centers. So again, using the standard terminology, they would be called visiting professors. They come to DSTI and teach, and then they have their main teaching and research activities in their host institution. We have a lot of professors and researchers from Université Côte d'Azur because our MSCs are labeled by the AI program that has been granted to Université Côte d'Azur by the national French AI program. And this label is on the degrees as well of our graduates, so we get a lot of them. Some academics, when they are particularly researchers more than lecturers, some of them exclusively teach at DSTI because they've decided that that's where they enjoy the most to teach. The professionals are selected with respect to their day-to-day activity. As I was saying earlier, if we teach Microsoft Azure, for example, and particularly a class in order to prepare to a certification, well, your professor in front of you at least has this certification and at least is working on a daily basis on the subject. We have a very close system of evaluation. The students are required to fill in detailed, extensive feedback at the end of each class. This feedback is then processed by direction of studies that professors, no matter how qualified, and if you look at our faculty, we have some really world-class experts on their fields. Even they have to respond to the comments of the student survey. And out of this quality process have been born actually quite a few either strong adjustments to classes or even new classes. Let me give you a concrete example. We have a course which is common to all the data programs called Python Machine Learning Labs. It's one of the flagship course because it constitutes what you guys would call a capstone project. This course is now involving the main professors, many other invited professors bringing in projects of different types of business and field sector activities. It's become really big, and this course was created out of student survey from students saying, "Oh, it would be nice, if we could have on top of what we've done, if we could do this, and say, yeah, very good idea. Let's make this happen and build it up." So again, we listen.
Perfect. Now, this is something after the students come to DSTI. Let's say they have got their visa. How does the school help in any other things like in settling down, helping them with finding an accommodation and stuff? Are there any student support services available?
We do, and because it's something that is, you need the know-how to do this. And I've, as also the CEO of the company, I believe that everyone is good at doing their job, so let's leave that to the professional. We basically have a concierge service. So we have a partner called Fil Français. That's their job. That's what they do. So they're with our admitted applicants from the moment that they start building up their visa applications, helping them also with all the matters of pre-arrival, so visa, accommodation, etc., and preparing everything. And this is done by people who do a much better job than we could ever do, because that's the purpose of what they do. And they do it extremely well, to the point of if we know that, for example, if a student doesn't follow up their advice, on their visa application, we see the rates of approval being not as good as. They are very, very good. And accommodation's not easy. You know, where we are located, Paris is renowned, has always been renowned to be tense on the accommodation market. I mean, let's be honest here. Unless you go to the outskirts of Paris, where it's a little bit easier. And the French Riviera is not the easiest. You know, it's beautiful, but it's not the easiest either. So having a concierge service is really, really critical. We also have something that is very important, because I lived this when I moved to the UK. When you talk about accommodation, you talk about guarantors. And of course, when you come from abroad, you don't have guarantors, you know, locally in the country. So we have another partner called Studapart, which also provides all this, provides a dedicated platform for looking at accommodation, and also a guarantee service, which is widely accepted by landlords. And that is a really important criteria.
Now, there are some questions that students ask us in terms of the admission requirements, right? Can a student with non-technical background, can they, let's say if they're interested in learning data science or data analytics or data engineering, are they eligible for any of this program? Someone from a non-technical background.
So usually the people with non-technical backgrounds would go for data analytics. Now, as I've been spending a few days now in India this week, I want also to say a few words about this. I've noticed that in India, very often when you have programs, like I've seen bachelors or masters in AI and machine learning, and another one, same institution, bachelor in data science. Here, what to me seems to be called very often data science is what we call in Europe data analytics, which is support for decision making. And whereas in Europe, data science is the applied maths part, is what you call AI and machine learning. So making this clarification, data analytics is filled in our program with people from management, from finance, from economics, sometimes from humanities, sometimes, I mean, no literature, of course, but from sociology, from linguistics. Basically, any discipline where you would have been exposed to some scientific reasoning, and particularly using statistics. You know, in sociology, you use statistics extensively, in linguistics as well, of course in economics. So these people would tend to upscale, not to change who they are. You know, they still want to work in finance and marketing and economics, etc., for banks, for whatever, but they want to upscale their analytical abilities, their methodologies, their abilities to code as well, to learn how to code. And our data analytics program, which is in the process of being reinforced in duration as well, is quite really unique if you compare it to a lot of other offers by including a lot of IT. But because we've seen that on the job market, more and more IT is being demanded to data analysts, but it is done in a way knowing that we have people who come from non-technical backgrounds. So there is a whole process starting with what we call our warm-up, that I'm going to teach today here, the last day, which equalizes the fundamentals, and then the construction of the program is made for, of course you need to make an effort, but is made for also people to be able to learn, even if it's the first time they will ever write a single line of code. So yes, it's totally possible, and that would be data analytics, absolutely.
Right. In the application process, do the students need to pass any standardized exams like GRE, GMAT, or?
So we have for fresh bachelor's graduates, executive education is a different matter. There are three options. Either we can assess your application based on your transcripts of grades with respect to, we cannot know the whole world, okay? So if we are familiar with the institution of your transcripts, the field of your studies and what you're applying for, very often we can do it transcript based. Other possibilities, standardized international entry exams, GMAT, GREs, etc. You have all the criteria on our website. If none of these two options are applicable, we have our own entry exam that we offer applicants to take, which is based on applied maths and IT, and which will give us a profile, and we give preparation materials, etc. It's online, it's taken online, and then we can proceed to the final interview admission step.
Okay. How long does this whole process take?
Depends on the student, depends on the applicants. If you submit your transcript, we process quickly, within days. If you give us GMAT, GREs, same, it's very quick. If it's based on our own entry exam, you will receive the invitation to take it, and applicants have 2 weeks to do it. They have a 2 weeks window to take it, to give them time to prepare. We send some documents to prepare. There are also YouTube videos to watch that are freely actually watchable. And then they have 2 weeks. So we can process a full admission, from beginning application to the end. If the student is prompt, we can process in 7 working days, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to financial part of the program, right? Are there any scholarships available? What is the tuition fee of different programs?
People who get interested in DSTI will notice that our tuition fees are kept to a reasonable minimum for their quality and our investment capacity. We have actually somehow, and we will be also in the process of describing this a bit more, we have actually integrated scholarship because we offer a lot of technology stack licenses. We don't make our students pay for when they take their external certification exams. So, all of this actually constitutes a scholarship which is pretty much worth 3,000 euros, which we maybe don't market enough, but we will. And we are also in the process of setting supplemental scholarships, so keep watching us.
Right. So one important point is that he said that there are certifications that students can do, but they don't have to pay separately. That is included.
It's all integrated, yeah. And you have also a vast amount of commercial software licenses, which, without any joke, are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in the value of the commercial licenses that we give. And all of this, is integrated in the tuition fees displayed.
Okay. Now, finally, to round up everything that we discussed, why should a student choose DSTI over, let's say, another university or other schools? What does the student get when he or she chooses DSTI?
It's actually a very easy answer, and I'll try to be short. I can guarantee that no one is perfect, but I can guarantee that we have and we always will do our best to provide the highest quality level of education, both on a very strong, very sturdy foundation scientific aspect and on the practical applications. We've been very successful at this. And the best words are not mine. Go to LinkedIn, type DSTI, Data Science Tech Institute, get in touch with our students, our alumni. They'll just tell you the truth. They are the real voice of DSTI. And I would happily say that you'll get highly satisfactory answers from at least 80% of whoever you ask. the programs are tough. They are renowned to be tough. I think we market, which is maybe counterintuitive in marketing, but we market the fact that they are demanding and tough, but the rewards, meaning your job and your career, are very good, and we're very proud of this, and that's why you should choose us.
Right. So if you're a serious student that wants to develop a career in Europe, particularly in the field of data science, data analytics, data engineering, or even cybersecurity now, this is the institute that you can, because they are very specialized, that like you mentioned. And one more thing that I forgot, right? There is internships integrated into the program. What is and as per law, internship has to be paid in France, right? And what is the average pay? And can they find internships in other European countries?
Okay. So in France, if the internship is done in France, physically in France, the law, it's in our code of education, stipulates that you cannot pay less than about 600 euro per month of compensation. Okay, that's the law. On average, our students get 1,200, 1,300 euros per month. There's very little tax on internship compensation, like minimal, because it's not an actual salary statutorily. So that's a very good indication, isn't it? It's twice, a company doesn't have to do it, but they do. So it's an indication also of the value, of our students. In Europe, not all countries have the statutory obligation to pay an internship compensation, what you guys call a stipend. Most countries do, particularly in Latin Europe. Germany tends to do it as well, not in the UK. In the UK, the internships are usually not paid. And how easy it is? Well, you need to apply to another visa, but it is a formality. You have, once you enter the European Union, and let's be honest, one of the two, now the UK is out, the two main countries of Europe, being France and Germany. Once you've acquired a French visa, or German visa, or a Spain or an Italian one, going to Italy, going to Germany, going to the Netherlands, yes, you will need to apply, but it's just an administrative formality. We've never seen any particular difficulties, or any rejection. It's just paperwork, It is possible, and it is something that also could make some non-French speaker more comfortable at the idea of to go to countries where the English language is, more common. But I'm thinking particularly the Netherlands or the Flemish parts of Belgium, because their Dutch is so little spoken, in the world. They're used to, having people working exclusively in English. It's not so much the case in Germany, mind you. I've worked for a year in Germany. I lived in Germany for a year. In Germany, very quickly, you are pushed gently, but quite surely. You're pushed to say, look, okay, you speak English, fine, but here we speak German. So you are pushed to learning German very, very rapidly. But you can very much do an internship in Germany, English speaking as well. It's a matter of, do you want to stay there? And if you want to stay, then it's another subject. There's Switzerland as well. I know it's out of the EU, okay, but also it's essentially a formality, to go. UK has become, since Brexit, it used to be easy. It's become a little bit more complex, but it's still possible. I have a student who recently signed an internship with Lego in the UK, working on their customer knowledge, in London. So yeah, it's possible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for patiently answering all our questions. I hope the prospective students, I hope the information was very valuable. I hope you got your answers for some of the questions that you had. DSTI is one of the schools that you must choose if you are interested in like I said, the data science, data analytics, data engineering, or even cybersecurity program. And regarding any admission queries, application related queries, please do get in touch with your Gostudy counselor or GoFrance counselor. They will help you out. They will also explain clearly about the visa requirements and everything. A to Z, everything will be taken care. And DSTI India managers are also there. If they want, they will help you with everything from application to admission to post arrival formalities, etc. So thank you. I hope you are having a good trip in India. We look forward to having you again here sometimes next year. So thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you.
And thank you for all the good work that you do, counseling and consulting with the applicants. It's really remarkable and it's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.